Hello all, Jack Holleworth here with another post-commentary edition of Jack Plays, this time on Castlevania Chronicles for the PS1. Like, it's funny just doing a run of this in the first place, because I'm not sure most Castlevania fans actually know that this game exists on the same console as Symphony of the Night. Basically, for those who don't know, this game is a sort of a remake of the first Castlevania. Well, basically, in 1933, I believe it was, there was this remake of the first Castlevania game, which also went by the same name, on a Japanese home computer called the Sharp X 6800. And obviously, since this computer never saw the light of day outside of Japan, we wouldn't really get to experience this game until it was ported to the PS1 like 8 years later. Anyway, we're gonna be playing through the arranged mode, normal mode, 3 lives, time limit enabled. Not much has really changed about arranged mode, other than it's slightly easier than the original mode, and yeah, Simon Belmont now looks like a girly girl for some reason. Why they felt the need to rework Simon's sprite just for this mode, I have no idea. And obviously, since this is a remake of that remake, obviously they felt the need to remake the soundtrack as well. Like, the first few you hear having like this sort of techno feeling for some reason. It kind of makes it sound like Simon's just mad he wasn't invited to Dracula's rave party. So anyway, the gameplay itself is pretty standard for a Castlevania game. You can whip diagonally, as you can see, kind of like in Castlevania 4, although you can't whip in all 8 directions. You definitely can't do the little twirly thing as well. That wall that used to have a pork chop behind it is now a trap where tons of flea men can jump out at you. I learned that the hard way when I was a kid. Most of the boss characters from the original Castlevania also reprise their roles, like except for the mummies at the end of stage 3. As far as I know, they're the only boss characters that don't reappear in this remake. But yeah. Apart from Simon's reworked sprite and the new soundtrack, obviously the opening and ending cutscenes have been redone to be FMVs, because why wouldn't you want to take advantage of the PS1 CD technology at the time? This fight with the Phantom Bat could have gone a lot better at first if I didn't miss so many shots with the axe. And we are done with stage 1 already. This map has also been redone as opposed to the original mode. Strangely enough, there's no footsteps here. I don't know if that's sort of an issue, like the emulator this ran on just doesn't include them, or you know, the game just didn't feel like playing them this time. I don't know, there's just a few factors I feel like contributing that to. And much like the original Castlevania, you will lose more health the further you get into the game. Like, right now, just basic enemies are taking off 1 block of health out of my 16. But by the time we get to stage 3 and later 5, I will start to lose 2 and 3 blocks of health respectively. I'd argue it's even worse in the original mode, because I don't remember what I think it was, but it might have been stage 4 or 5, but enemies by then would take off like 1/4 of your health. So basically just 4 hits and you're dead. Yeah, I don't really have too much to say about this stage since it's relatively short. This part with the mermen, it's not really a big deal. And yeah, if knockback was a thing in this game, that probably would have killed me. But anyway, all the mermen just go back into the water, and we jump on this second raft. Can you guess what that means? Boss time again. This boss obviously was not in the original game. Basically, it's just a skeleton dragon. All he does is just rock the raft with his tail and breathe fire, and you can kill him as quickly as I described him. For some reason I really like pulling that pose at the end of every level. Don't know why. Anyway, stage 3, and we are now in what I assume is the backyard. Or some random forest within the castle or whatever. I'm not really too good with how Dracula designs his castles these days. And this is where the notorious flea men make their first appearance. If you didn't whip away at the wall in stage 2, like sometimes I say stage or level. Like for every level, it's composed into 3 quote-unquote stages. Archers, they're not that much of a big deal. They just take so many hits to die. So this arrange mode does start a bit dumbed down compared to the original at first, but it does get a lot harder the further you progress. And yeah, my footage is now skipping apparently. Thanks a lot, Elgato. Although I suppose we're not missing out on much anyway. We're not going to bother with that bird since he just despawns by the time we enter stage 9 anyway. I guess you could argue that the skipping footage is why I just rather use my Elgato with OBS. As opposed to just capturing footage straight from the Elgato itself. I don't know, I think we might be golden after this particular stage. I'm not sure. This boss spawning trigger is kind of strange, not gonna lie. This boss can be kind of annoying if you don't deal with him very quickly. Basically, every time you hit him, he spawns somewhere else. And yeah, when he's low on health, that happens. And yeah, if I didn't dispose of him so quickly, I would have died. Wow, I don't know what it is with this footage now. But anyway, stage 4, and we open up with a skeleton dragon on the wall. Anyway, get ready to say hello to your favourite enemies, the infamous Medusa heads. Yeah, just imagine having to climb a tower with these things coming at you non-stop. It would just be painful. Achievement unlocked. By the way, I swapped out the cross for the useless dagger. I feel like if you're not quick enough, it's almost impossible to get up there without getting hit by one of the red skeletons. But you can see the devs picked a good reason to use Bloody Tears as this level's theme. Not really too much to say about the spikes, except I think they're no longer one-hit kills. So while I don't really have much to say about the levels themselves, I think I'll go on sort of a mini tangent about how Castlevania Requiem is going to be handled for the PS4. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't mind the idea of, you know, Ronda of Blood and Symphony of the Night being re-released in one package. In fact, I think the idea of that sounds pretty good. Although I feel like Konami really had a missed opportunity to, you know, sort of make it a collection of all the Castlevania games, like from the start of. Starting with Castlevania 1, you know, all the way to Symphony of the Night. Anyway, the Medusa heads aren't my least favourite enemy in the game. This stained glass knight is. Because basically when you kill it, it breaks apart like that and just sends all of its remains coming at you. And killing Medusa can be a bit of a pipe dream depending on how much health you have left by the time you get here. Oh, you expected the same flying head from the NES version? Nope. She actually uses her full body to her advantage here. Like, I just pray to God that I kill her here, but that was a bit of a close dodge, but of course I don't. So we're gonna do a quick splice and round 2. I find it funny how the warp attrition tactic works on her, yet I didn't go for that the first time. If only I knew that would work on her ahead of time. And Girly Simon just proceeds to hang his face in shame. Did I say hide his face in shame? I'm not sure. This next stage sucks, and it's definitely the point where the difficulty spike starts to become like really obvious. Basically, it's just your average clock tower level. But the third area, I'd say, is the worst of all. You know, you've got all the aspects of what make a clock tower level. Medusa heads, those are all normal. But yeah, there are platforms that sort of spin depending on what, like spin and twist depending on where you stand on them. Like, I can't think of any other word to describe this level except annoying. I'm pretty sure those bone pullers are always on a fixed timer for falling down. But yeah, apart from how much I'm not really liking the look of Castlevania Requiem, like, I suppose it'll be a decent buy if you're a fan. I don't know, I just feel like Konami could have used this opportunity to give us more games that we didn't get, such as Vampire Killer on VMSX2, which is basically Castlevania 1 but with RPG style elements, basically like Simon's Quest. Yeah, at this point I'm just so desperate for an herb or a pork chop at this point. And I spliced because I just died here anyway. But yeah, this was the stage I'm talking about. These falling gears are the worst. Like, if you get hit even once on your journey to the top, I'd say your chances of beating the boss are 1,000,000 to none. Thankfully, the peeping eyes don't respawn once you kill them, but man, is this ascent just a drag. And yeah, these gears always fall off in like the most unpredictable spots. Like, thankfully they're not random or anything, but it's still a pain to predict where they're gonna fall. Like, which ones just fall... Like, which ones actually hurt you and which ones are just for decoration. But thankfully we're almost at the top here. Reposition the platform a bit, and here we go up to the very top of the clock tower. No, this pretty lady is not purely just for eye candy. We actually have to fight her werewolf form. Basically, she just throws parts of the clock tower at you. Like, she just jumps around wildly and throws all she can at you. She's as annoying as she sounds, I swear. And obviously, since we're losing 3 blocks of health now, for 6 hits and we're dead. Thankfully, this part where she uses the clock arm against you is sort of a breather, but it's still a pretty annoying boss fight if it doesn't really go your way. Apparently this clock would also reflect what time you were playing this game at, but since the PlayStation doesn't have like an internal clock, like, that's basically impossible. Yeah, it's just basically impossible to emulate when you're emulating like a computer game on different hardware. This part gives me like Castlevania 4 vibes, not sure why. But yeah, as hit and miss as you'd argue the arranged soundtrack is, you can't argue that some of the stages from after the third one are some of the best tracks you'll ever hear. Anyway, I just found a new, well, sub-weapon for Laurel. Basically, if you happen to have 10 hearts, you can use that to refill 6 blocks of health. It's a real lifesaver for some of the later levels, like this one especially. I feel like the Castlevania series has always had a thing for shoving bats and Medusa heads in your face every time you have to cross a falling bridge. Tower of Dolls. Best song in the game, in my opinion. Like, so much so that it was even reused for Order of Ecclesia. This section can be kind of annoying, mostly because of these little enemies right here. And balloons hurt you now, hell yeah. But yeah, sometimes you can kill them with a straight shot, but other times they're just too stubborn to die. While there not really be exactly as much replay value to this as much as there was with Symphony of the Night, you do get to unlock like a fair bit of content with this game. For example, after you beat Arrange mode, you get to unlock Time Attack mode, where you basically aim to complete each level as fast as possible without dying. And also, I think that at every level you beat, you get to unlock like part of the art gallery. Well, very little of it actually has to do with Chronicles. Instead, most of the art featured there are like Symphony of the Night designs. I suppose to remind the players, hey, we made Symphony of the Night. Which to that I have to say, yes, I know. Also, as far as I'm concerned, the original mode actually loops like the original NES game does, and this one doesn't. It just ends after you beat Dracula. I don't know what I was thinking when I walked into that act there. And I just picked up the dagger, so I have to pray to God I can beat the doppelganger on the first try here. Which of course I don't. I mean, what good is half health gonna do for you in boss battles? And yeah, if there's one thing I have to sort of criticize about the old Castlevania games, is that you can't tell which candles have like sub-weapons in them until it's too late. Like, that problem was sort of remedied when Bloodstained Curse of the Moon came around, where sub-weapons can now be identified via purple candles. You can kind of trick this guy a bit, but yeah, that can happen a lot. So, round 2 again. Funnily enough, I actually glitched out his animations on this round. I don't know exactly how that happened, but it's a pretty amusing bug as far as I'm concerned. Stage 7. And we are now in the dungeon. No Heart of Fire sadly, but I personally think this song works for the setting just as well. But anyway, we now have skeletons that will explode on you if you don't kill them fast enough. And this thing that just randomly breaks out its cage. All while the skeleton up there is constantly throwing bones at you every second. And don't be fooled, those exploding skeletons can show up twice no matter where you are. Third hit on this spider, you just have to duck. As far as I know, that herb I picked up earlier doesn't really show up like in candles or whatever. Like, it's extremely RNG based as far as I'm concerned. But if you do get it, it's worth picking up if you want to stay alive. Oh, and to throw sub-weapons you have to hold up on the D-pad and then press your attack button. Like, which can make using your sub-weapons on stairs for where you want to a bit of a pipe dream. I feel like I should have just committed suicide at this point, because what's the point trying to go on if I only have 1 block of health left, and that pretty much would have killed me if I took 1 more step forward. That too. And I pretty much panicked. I feel like when I haven't had much that much to say about the game and the levels themselves, I've mostly been going on sort of a tangent about Castlevania Requiem. I don't know, I just feel like Konami actually missed out on like a good opportunity to make this collection better than it should have been. Oh yeah, this bit with the red skeletons can be quite a pain if you don't take them all out at the right time. But anyway, here's Frankenstein's monster. Probably the only boss character in this game to be reduced to just a regular enemy who takes way too many hits to beat. And you can just sort of cheese him by doing that. Granted, you can go back for him later like I do, but... I don't really see why you'd want to when it's hardly worth it. I never exactly felt too safe just dealing with these little doll guys head on. Yeah, I don't know why I even bother going back for this guy. I don't really think he gives you that many points when he dies. I'd say that's probably the only time, you know, using the D-pad to throw sub-weapons actually came in handy. Most of the time, since you're trying to use it while climbing up the stairs, it just doesn't work. Just because of how it's controlled. This part, if you remember, was insanely difficult in the NES version, but, you know, thanks to your more versatile jumping and the fact that you can whip diagonally, it seems incredibly nerfed here. That painting we just walked through earlier, that apparently made use. That also made use of what date you were playing the game on. But of course, thanks to the PlayStation's lack of an internal clock, again, that just doesn't happen unless you use a code. Not a whole lot to say about Death. He's the same as he's ever been, and he can die pretty quickly if you have enough health and the right tools to do it. And we are at the final level now. Oh, and I just noticed I just noticed again. By the time I finished level 7, I had exactly 3400k as my score. Thanks a lot, Death. Anyway, as I was saying, you know the devs wanted to make this last stage as triumphant as possible, given how they arranged Simon's theme here. This is probably the closest you would ever come to being scared by a guy who looks like a girly girl, who also wanted to grow up to be a teenage rock star. I don't know what I'm thinking anymore. Other than I don't really think Simon's redesign really suited him that well. No, I don't want that dagger. Be careful of that second chandelier, because it's definitely not for show. This is where I fully expected to die at the end of this bit. That guy was apparently too stubborn to die. For a while I thought these flames in the background actually hurt you. Here's another infamous section. The trek to Dracula with a bunch of vampire bats. That jump is very tight. And yeah, random supplies to show that the bat spawns there doesn't really help either. I've always obsessed over that really tight jump for no particular reason. Like, if you're 1 pixel off, you're falling down. But anyway, stage 24, we're nearly in the home stretch. Exactly why I decided to jump into that thing, I have no idea. Right now I don't have that much health left, so I was really debating on whether I should go beat Dracula on this same life. Because I don't think I stood much of a chance against him when I could only take 3 more hits. But anyway, this Dracula pretty much fights the same as his NES counterpart. Basically, he just spawns in a random location and just throws fireballs at you. It's been the same for like what? 16 years up to this point. Well, I say up to this point because that was pretty much when this game came out. Halfway through, he will throw 5 fireballs instead of 3, but don't feel too intimidated because you have already beaten his first form by then. But for the second form, Dracula goes full on rave party with his music and turns into, well, something that doesn't look like a bat, that's for sure. Either way, he's still incredibly easy. But I gotta say, that was a pretty close victory. And that is it for Castlevania Chronicles on the PS1. Granted, it wasn't the original X6800 version, but hey, that was a nice little treat to have before we move on to Klonoa Dream Champ Tournament. And with that, we say our goodbyes to Castlevania in the form of an FMV cutscene. And while these credits roll, I do want to admit, there's an interview with Iger unlocked from the get-go. And yeah, obviously it's exclusive to the American and European versions. Like, I did kind of want to look back at that interview, for as passionate as he was about working for Konami before they started World War III. But nowadays I can't really help but laugh at how compressed PS1 FMVs truly were back then. But anyway, thanks for watching. That was Castlevania Chronicles, and I hope to see you again in Klonoa Dream Champ Tournament on the GBA.